This lesson is with the 7th grade Houghton Mifflin English book. It is on more uses for commas and coordinates with pages 235 to 237 in the student textbook. So use commas to set up introductory words and interrupters in a sentence. If an appositive is necessary in order to identify the nouns it follows, do not set it off with commas. For example, Amundsen went to the Atlantic in the famous ship Fram. If I just said Amundsen went to the Atlantic in the famous ship, you wouldn't know which famous ship I was talking about, so there's no comma. We need to know the word Fram. All right, let me get a marker. Simon, what do you know about the world's polar regions? Simon, comma, what do you know about the world's polar regions? Simon is direct address. We're speaking directly to Simon, so we put a comma. It can be taken out of the sentence, and what do you know about the world's polar regions makes sense. Well, the temperatures at the poles often falls as low as 50 degrees below zero. Well is an introductory word and gets set off with a comma. Much of the Arctic Ocean is covered with ice floes, masses of ice on the ocean's surface. So after ice flows, comma, masses of ice on the ocean's surface is extra information. We don't necessarily need it. It's in a positive. We can set it off with a comma. Much of the Arctic Ocean is covered with ice flows. Makes sense. As a matter of fact, comma, both the Arctic and the Antarctic have permanent ice caps. I can take this out, and both the Arctic and Antarctic have permanent ice caps. Makes sense. Yes, these ice caps are hundreds of feet thick. Yes, comma, introductory word, these ice caps are hundreds of feet thick. The Arctic winter, I believe, is one long night of darkness, I believe is an interrupter, so we set it off with commas, meaning we put commas on both sides. I can take this out. The Arctic winter is one long night of darkness. In February, the sun appears. Actually, the word however should be in here. I'm going to write it in, sorry. However is an interrupter, and there would be commas on both sides of it. By the time of the equinox, March 21st, day and night are the same length. March 21st can get set off with commas. I can take it out. By the time of the equinox, day and night are the same length. Makes sense. We leave it. During the summer, of course, the sun never sets. Of course is an interrupter, so we set it off with commas. Can you imagine life, Katie, in such a dark and bitterly frozen environment? We set off Katie with commas. That is direct address. We're speaking to her, but her name could be taken out and the sentence makes sense. No, comma, I honestly cannot imagine living in such a harsh situation. No is an introductory word. The region south of the Arctic, the subarctic, has winters almost as cold as the Arctic's and much warmer summers. So we're going to set the subarctic off with commas. By the way, comma, there are many land animals in the Arctic. As a matter of fact, comma, caribou live in both the Arctic and the subarctic regions. What do caribou eat? Comma, Katie. Again, direct address. The caribou eat vegetation, comma, the grasses growing on the low plains. I can take this out and caribou eat vegetation makes sense.